Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm mother to Layla, who 16-year-old, who's currently enrolled in the open label extension of the initial C7 trial. I just wanted to share some of the improvements that we've noted and enjoyed since Layla's been on the C7 trial. I guess the most notable one has been her speech, which is so much more clearer, so much more easier to understand, and also her response time. So when she's having a conversation, it doesn't take her so long to process what's being said to her and then formulate a reply, which has been amazing in terms of opening up social opportunities for her. The other improvement that we have seen has been definitely with her energy, her endurance, and strength, so that she can do more, she can last longer, she can before having to sort of retreat and retire and rest, which was definitely something that was hindering her prior to starting C7. It would limit exactly what how much she could do in a day, if she could do things on successive days. If we could travel, prior to C7, she would be absolutely smashed and fatigued from just a day trip. In last year, we were able to travel with her to Paris and Dubai, which is, Paris took us about 40 hours worth of travel to get there, and she was just amazing. She had so much energy. She was just, she was just enjoying everything. And with prior to C7, that would never have been able to be possible for her. So it's definitely given her a lot of opportunities that may not have been possible prior to C7. The other thing that we have seen improved in Layla in particular is her appetite. For about 4 years prior to starting C7, Layla was fed through a PEG feeding tube. We had to resort to that because I guess she just wasn't putting on weight. She was fatiguing whenever she'd be eating a meal. AT kids sort of expend a lot of energy just chewing, and becomes very difficult for them to thrive and put on weight. And so we had resorted to a PEG for her to keep her, fed essentially. Since starting C7, though, her appetite and her ability to eat, her energy to eat, was just like night and day. She was able to, chew her food and eat on her independently, which again opened up other opportunities for her, like joining us for dinner, going out to restaurants, which is something that she loves to do. Again, just opening up life for her, things that we take for granted every day. She was able to sort of enjoy again, and that was really amazing to see, that difference, that change. And all of these things, the improved speech, the improved energy, the ability to eat by herself. Sort of one thing that we saw in terms of, non-clinical outcomes was just the improvement in her confidence from that. It just sort of opened up all of these opportunities for her to participate in life. She loves having conversations with people. She's a big chatterbox, and she's got the confidence now to be able to know that she's going to be understood when she speaks, and to have the energy to participate in those conversations, to participate in social gatherings, to participate in life. And I think that's been one of the most amazing things to see for me as a parent. And then to also, on top of that, know what's happening at a cellular level. It just makes me wonder just how much further behind she would be, how much decline would have happened had we not had C7. It's been really miraculous for us in terms of improving her quality of life. And as a parent, as a community, as an AT community, we are very well connected, not only within out with our Australian families, but also internationally. We have lots of social groups where we communicate with each other, and I get so many questions and so much interest in C7 with other families wondering how it's going and when I think that they might possibly have access to it for their kids. So it's been wonderful to be able to share some of those things with them and to provide them with hope. I do hope that we're able to extend that eventually to them through a international phase 3 trial, and one day see C7 as a treatment for AT. Thank you for all your support.
Hi there, Daisy Hansen's dad here. So Daisy is a bubbly and bossy little girl who's turning 7 later this month. We were first diagnosed with AT when I arrived here in Australia. I literally came out of hotel quarantine back in 2020 and got the diagnosis. And it was obviously quite a shock to the system, and we didn't have much hope. We feared that the condition would progress very quickly, but thankfully not long after we started the trial on C7, and we found this wonderful community that's around the trial, both the professionals on the trial and the patients and their families, and we found a sense of hope, of course, doing something about the condition. It seemed to us that the medicine had a great effect on Daisy's symptoms. She tolerated the medicine very well, and we found that her speech was a bit less slurred and her mobility was better. And we could definitely see that when she went off the medicine, that her stamina reduced. She used to be able to ride her kick scooter to kinder every morning, but she couldn't when she got off the medicine. And her speech also got more slurred, we believe. Luckily, we got back on the medicine. Obviously, we could see the stamina and speech is still affected, but everything tells us that it could be a lot worse, and we've got a much better outlook on things. We very much fear that if we're not on C7, that her symptoms would be a lot worse at this stage. We really hope that we can continue on the medicine, because we just want to push out the symptoms for as far as we can and give Daisy a better quality of life for as long as possible. Thank you very much.
I'm Scott Van Beck, and I am 35.
And how are you when you're on C7? What can you do?
I've seen improvements that I can now go to the gym and bench press heavy stuff, and walk in the pool and do half a dozen reps of kicking with my legs,
and your stamina's getting better at doing that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how long are you in your pool doing physio for now? About 45 minutes,
Just over half an hour.
Yeah, okay. All right, how about your hands? Don't show us, you don't have to show us, but tell us what your hands are doing.
They're slowly unclawing.
Unclawing, yep, okay.
They're slowly unclawing.
And as we can see, your speech is...
My speech is better.
Is amazing off it. And we're not gagging, are we? Or very little gagging.
Yeah.
Okay. When you went off the oil, it was a sad time, wasn't it?
Yeah, when I went off the oil, everything just went to shit, really.
Everything that
Couldn't
he
do
gained,
it, but
everything that he gained on the oil, he lost, and probably lost even more. His hands clawed right back up. His speech went down the drain. His mood, he lost his sense of humour again, and that was really, really sad. When Scott loses his sense of humour, you know there's something wrong. And we were just hanging out waiting to have the C7 reinstated. Since you've been back on the C7 oil, what do you think you've gained?
well, everything slightly coming back to me, like I'm doing more stuff at the gym, so cool, and the hands are slightly coming back to it, but it's still evolving,
And your speech is great.
yeah.
I think off the oil he lost so much, and he lost more than he gained. So I think that it's actually taking longer
To come back.
to gain those capabilities back, but he's doing it, and he's working with it. The oil is enabling him to do more, so he is actually doing more. And by doing more, he's building up his stamina as well.
And I feel like I can talk better, and I'm not as shaky, and I can swallow better.
Hi, I'm Susie. I'm Ryan's mum, Ryan Cowling. We have been part of the trial the whole time. When Ryan first got on the C7 oil, we have seen there was no progress in his symptoms, so definitely slowed down the progression. When he first got off the oil, his tremors have resumed, and he was definitely weaker and not as energetic, and had more slurred speech. So when we then went on the open label, Ryan put on a fair bit of weight. He started going to the gym 3 times a week, absolutely thrived. His tremors have decreased, and his speech was much better. So I hope this helps. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Tony and Sandra Paolino, and we are Joshua Paolino's mother and father, and we just want to talk about obviously the C7 medication.
Okay, so on the Josh, the improvements that we saw on the C7 initial phase was his swallowing, his speech clarity. He wasn't slurring his words. He was less fatigued. As a result, his core strength improved. He was more talkative with himself and family and friends. And the major thing that we noticed was his tremors subsided. What he lost on the C7 initial phase when it ended, all the improvements in Joshua's swallowing, his speech clarity, the slurring of words, the core strength, the fatigue, they all deteriorated, and the fatigue came back during this period. As a result, Joshua became very frustrated, especially with his speech and also with the tremors. and he lost all motivation to participate in activities in and out of school. What we saw when he was back on C7, when he restarted the open label, in Joshua's own words, this medication has been life-changing. His tremors greatly reduced. Therefore, this allowed him to play on his PlayStation for longer. He was more confident, and for a 15-year-old boy, that's life-changing. PlayStation is his life. It's also given him the confidence to join and participate in the West Australian Power Chair football this year. He has greater control over the joystick and using it. Before, I used to fatigue quite a lot when he wasn't on the C7, but now he's able to control the wheelchair and play quite well, and participate in 2 hours of playing power chair football. Along with his swallowing, the speech clarity, we saw an improvement with his swallowing, his speech clarity. He's less fatigued, a lot more talkative. As a result, his appetite has increased, which has led him to gain weight, and he's nearly at the correct weight for his height and age group. And he's also more motivated, and he's willing to try new foods, which he never wanted to before. Josh has done so well at school this year. All the teachers have noticed a major change in Josh and major improvement in Josh. For the first time ever, he's participated in music, he has been singing, he's got the confidence because his speech has improved so much that with him and his a classmate, he was able, just the two of them were able to sing a Bruno Mars song, one of his favourite songs, at the Christmas concert. And as a result, he got most improved in music, his first award ever. Also, Joshua has received 4 commendations for this year at school. He's received it in drama for the way he presented himself, his confidence, his speaking. In health, again, for his speaking, in engaging in conversation with the teacher about his answers, able to respond back. He's in religion. His teacher was impressed with his knowledge and also his answers on a test. And in food technology, which is cooking, he's had the strength, and because he's less fatigued and because of his core strength, because he's gained a lot more core strength, he's been able to stand up and cook for an hour standing in his standing wheelchair in his Permobil. And they're absolutely loving the fact that he's more engaged and participating in class. Also, during this period, Josh was able to achieve, he's been working really hard on exercising and building up his core. So he's been doing a lot of, in his ceiling hoist at home, in his bedroom and bathroom, he's been walking on his ceiling hoist. He was only able, when he was off the oil, he was only able to achieve 10 minutes, but now he's been able to increase that to 35 minutes without fatiguing. And his next goal is to be able to reach 1 hour. So as you can see, by having access to C7 medication, Josh is so much happier, he's more confident, he's healthier, he's living a more fulfilling life. And in Josh's words, this medication has definitely been life-changing, and we're just so happy to see him happy. And please allow our son and all the other children to continue on the C7 medication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace. I'm 5 years old.
While Grace has been on the C7 oil, she has been less wobbly and her speech is clearer. When Grace was off the C7 oil, her speech deteriorated and she became more unbalanced and clumsy. Please continue your kindness to our daughter and to all her AT friends and family by continuing the supply of this life-changing oil. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Christina and I'm here to talk to you about my daughter Goldie Digby and the effects that C7 has had on her over the last few years being on and off the drug. Prior to her commencing for the very first part of that trial, her ataxia was quite prominent. She would dribble quite profusely. Her speech was very slurred. She was unable to articulate herself very well, and she had very weak dexterity in her hands, and her daily ability for self-care, toileting, feeding, was very limited. I had to do a lot of that for her. Once she started, so when we went through that first year, she started on a very minimal dose and then had increased to her maximum dosage. I'd noticed, and so had many others, quite a significant change in her ataxia. She had then started to become very willing to do a lot more activities and participate in those activities and enjoy those activities. Her dribble had lessened quite dramatically, so she was very able to articulate herself and be heard and understood. I think that was one big thing where she really struggled to get her words out, and I had found a real big difference in her being able to get her message across and people understand her. Because she wasn't managing with this excess saliva in her mouth all the time. She was a lot more steady. What else? She still had weak dexterity in her hands, but she was really willing to constantly try and constantly push herself to try with her therapies, and always maintaining her therapies. Her therapist would always say that they had noticed an increased difference from prior to her being on the oil to when she was. She was not having as many tantrums emotionally because she felt better in her body. She was a lot happier. Yeah, I mean, we all noticed a significant change when she was on the oil. At the point when that trial finished, it was quite devastating. It was a significant change from when she was on to the day that we had to stop. She was at a maximum dose. We had to stop literally just cold turkey, and it was just like watching somebody have to detox from a drug. For 2 weeks, she was extremely wobbly. Her dribble just would not stop. She was having lots and lots of falls. She needed someone to help her to do everything, to get out of bed, to brush her teeth, to feed. She was unhappy. She was emotional, a lot more emotional, because there were things that she couldn't do. It was really a big change in that 2 weeks, and then I had to increase some other medication that she was having just to help with her balance and stability, which was very short. It was just short-term fix, really. It didn't help at all. So during that, I think it was maybe 6 or 8 months, I can't recall the time, that we were waiting for that decision whether the kids will come on. It was, it was an uncomfortable, unsettling feeling, because I had noticed such a dramatic change, and then we felt like we had just gone backwards. Since she has been back on, I feel like we're definitely back to where she was before. she's a lot more willing, she's able, she's happy, she can self-care, she feeds herself, she can go to the toilet on her own, she can wipe herself, she keeps up with her other friends at school. She's now nearly 8 years old. She is walking about. She's still a little ataxic, but definitely nowhere near what she was before. Her quality of life has definitely improved. In all honesty, I think that this has been, this is something that it would be devastating for her to be without. I do feel like it has made some big impacts in her life, and whilst we are continuing to wait for cures or different technologies that come out in the world to help to assist with their quality of life, yeah, I really do feel that this has made a significant impact in her life, that without it she would be going back many steps. We've come a long way. It's already been over the last couple of years. There has been lots of significant improvements. She's been on it more than she has been off. And I think it would be a real detriment to her and all the children with AT if this was not a part of their life anymore. All I can say is what I see on a physical level and an everyday level, on a emotional level, and I truly feel that it has had an enormous impact on her life, and it would be devastating if this is not something that she could continue. So from us, I'd like to thank Ultragenics for giving all of these kids and our daughter the opportunity to continue this out of goodwill. I really hope that you hear my story, our stories, and take all of that into account, regardless of just what the data says, and know that this has made a significant improvement to our children's lives, and hopefully that is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. David, for looking after me.
Hi there, my name is Talar, and I'm here to talk to you about my daughter, Liana Atachparian, and the effects that C7 has had on her over the last few years, being on and off the drug. So Liana is 8 years old. She turns 9 next month. And she was diagnosed when she was 3 years old in 2019. And Liana has always been very wobbly. Her walking very unsteady, her gait very unsteady. Her posture, her neck was very wobbly. She couldn't hold it still for a long time. She couldn't stay still for more than 10-15 seconds. Her speech was very unclear. People didn't really understand what she was saying because she had excessive saliva in her mouth, so she couldn't articulate her words in a good way, and people really didn't understand what she was saying, and they used to ask me what she said. Her handwriting was very poor, was very messy, but honestly, everything changed when she started taking the oil, the medication, in March 2022. After, I can say, a few months, 3-4 months, we saw major improvement in all aspects of her life. I mean, her gait, her walking became almost normal. Like, you couldn't really see anything wrong unless you knew about it. Her posture, her neck became very stable. She wasn't wobbly at all. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but honestly, she was a lot better than what she was a few months before that. Her handwriting was very good. They were telling me from at school that she was improving. Her handwriting has improved so much. Her speech became a lot more clear. She could articulate her words. She could actually move her mouth properly and say out the words. People could understand what she was saying. So honestly, we were so happy. During those 12 months, everything changed to the better, of course. We were very happy with the positive outcome. But when she stopped taking the oil during the washout period, honestly, everything, after, I can say, a couple of weeks, not even months, weeks, everything went downhill. I mean, she started being wobbly again. She started drooling again, and her speech became unclear. She couldn't move her mouth, her lips properly. Her gait, she wasn't steady. She couldn't stand still for a long time again. And she started losing confidence, because when she was taking the oil during those 12 months, she had a confidence boost. She was doing a lot better. She was participating in activities, even at school. She started participating in sports, in activities, because she knew that she was better. She could do better. But during the washout period, she lost that confidence, and she started not participating in activities and in sports at school. As I said, her speech became unclear again. She was drooling a lot. And I mean, you could see a major shift from where she was a few months before that and when she was during the washout period. And the most devastating thing for us was she started having tremors during the washout period. I mean, I can say after a few weeks, when she stopped taking the oil, after a few weeks we started noticing tremors in her hands, and she was getting very frustrated because of that, because that was new for her. I mean, she didn't have any of that when she was on the oil, and her tremors became worse during the washout period, and she became very wobbly again, as I said before. Her neck became very unsteady again, and you could see a major shift in her health in those 10 months during the washout period. And you could see she didn't have energy anymore. I mean, there was no energy. She was getting tired very quick. I mean, it was heartbreaking to see that, very heartbreaking to see that your child was, all those negative things that were happening during those months from where she was a few months before that. And then, like, it was a major shift. And to be honest, everyone was noticing the difference. But after she went on the oil again, last year in February, we saw a change in her energy. She has more energy now. We saw a change in the tremors as soon as she got on the oil. After 2 or 3 weeks, when she started taking the oil again, we saw major reduction in the tremors in her hands. I mean, she can feed herself now. She can eat with a spoon and a fork, and she still has some tremor, but not as bad as before. And her walking became better, her gait became better, and we're seeing like positive outcome. So we all hopes that it's gonna get better and better from here. We ask Ultragenics to please continue the support, the supply of the C7, because that's kind of our only hope for now.
This is Jara, and we've noticed while he's on the oil, he's less wobbly. On the break that we had, he was very wobbly and his speech started to get more slurred again. He was recently sick for 4 days and he couldn't have the oil, and we already noticed that there was a slight decline with him not being on it, and we've seen some real good changes in his unsteadiness and his speech. Those are the two main things with Jarrah. So hello.